Left of the box. So it's not just healthcare conservatives have it in for, it's also every culture war that was popular in the United States is now popular in Canada. And the conservatives are going hard, like really hard on it. And it's disgusting because a lot of the people targeted are vulnerable people, trans individuals, people living with addictions are targeted. Absolutely disgusting that this is now an issue when before it wasn't a problem. Saskatchewan school divisions ready to enforce pronoun law when classes start next week. I've talked about this a bunch on my channel and why Scott Moe, the premier of Saskatchewan, who, as a reminder again, killed someone, used the notwithstanding clause to take away the rights of children. So school divisions in Saskatchewan say they will be enforcing the province's pronoun law as children head back to class next week. Students under 16 who want to change their names or pronouns in school will need to have parental consent. Now, as a reminder, but I'm sure most people who watch my channel know, if there is someone under 16 who doesn't feel safe telling their family and their parents about a different pronoun or name, that's because they're in danger if they do. They're not in a healthy household. They're not in a supportive household. So then what this does is it forces the teachers to either misgender this child or out them to their parents. Not a nice situation. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, if the student wants to have all their documents changed and blah, 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 then the parent has the right to know. But these laws go further than that, because a lot of the teachers and administration would understand it's like, okay, so we can't change it officially on your school document, but at least informally in class, they would still refer to the child by their preferred gender and name and stuff of that sort. And that's not allowed either. So not even on an informal basis, unless they have parental consent. A superintendent at Regina Public Schools says the division will comply with the legislation while being respectful of students and parents. Now, they don't really have a choice, though. Like, they're saying they're comply, but the schools don't have a choice. This is the law in Saskatchewan. So for them not to do it would be breaking the law. So, of course, they're going to say that they're going to comply. A spokesperson for Saskatoon Public Schools say all employees are expected to follow the legislation and its enforcement is no different than with other policies. Initially introduced as the Minister of Education Policy in August 2023, the pronoun rules drew immediate pushback from the University of Regina's Pride organization, You Are Pride, which launched a legal challenge alongside Eagle Canada. To prevent the pronoun rules from being struck down, the Saskatchewan Party enshrined, that's Scott Moe's Conservative Party, enshrined the policy into law last October, invoking the notwithstanding clause to shield it from a potential court order. Notwithstanding clause. So this is basically the Scott Moe saying, yes, we're trying to enforce a law or pass a law that is so bad, the court will say that this goes against Canadians' Charter of Rights and Freedoms, their constitutional rights. It's so bad that the court will not rule in our favor. So we're going to use this notwithstanding clause because we want to take those rights away from people. The notwithstanding clause supersedes the courts of this country. And there's nothing you can do about it. It gets renewed every 4 years, and that's about it. But there is no court you can then take this to because this is above the courts. There's an ongoing legal battle over whether the courts have a right to determine if the law, commonly known as Bill 137, violates the Charter of Rights of Children and workers tasked with enforcing it, who could face the sanctions if they refuse. Next month, the Saskatchewan government will make its case before the Court of Appeal, arguing that its use of the notwithstanding clause should prevent a judge from reviewing the law even while it has no authority to strike it down. So this is basically saying, like, before it even went to court, the Saskatchewan government's like, we're using the notwithstanding clause to force teachers to out their students or misgender them, the most vulnerable students in their class. And so we're going to do this before it even gets to the courts. And now we're saying that because we've used the notwithstanding clause, they're not even allowed to look at this case, even though they wouldn't have the authority to do anything about it. Just absolutely disgusting. Outing Saskatchewan young people in schools in the case of Bill 137, primarily trans students or those young people that wish to use different pronouns or different names, is harmful and violent act, Kent Peterson, CUPE Saskatchewan president, told CTV News in July. And yeah, there's lots of evidence about this, about how dangerous this is for the most vulnerable students. The notwithstanding clause is not a license to discriminate against children and youth and avoid the scrutiny of the courts, Amnesty International Canada Secretary General Ketty said in a news release earlier this month. Yeah, so Amnesty International said it will be joining the fray to argue the notwithstanding clause should not be used to breach the rights of young people. Like, when you have international organization that, you know, look out for the rights of people and is going like, hey, Canada, would you mind start cutting this out? You know it's bad. But this also ties into, the serfs tweeted this out, people who want to inspect children's genitals should be disqualified from holding public office. And so this is happening over in BC. The NDP and BCU Liberals want to distract you from the fact that they support allowing biological males to compete against women and girls in sports. Only the Conservative Party of British Columbia will fight for BC and has the common sense to say no to woke ideology. How many times do we have to go over this to know that it's discriminatory? Trans women are women, trans girls are girls, especially if they are given the proper treatment and get the proper puberty when they're children. There's virtually no difference, biologically speaking, other than some reproductive organs. They have no advantages, and they actually, their body then changes to reflect more of the gender that they feel themselves to be. You know, you put a teenager on the testosterone or the estrogen, and then when they become adults, they actually look like their gender. And so many people want to stop children from having hormone therapy, which would then deny them of this. They then have to go through the trauma of seeing their body develop in the gender that they don't identify with. And then when they become adults, it's so much harder to fit in. It's so much harder to become, you know, to have their body match what they're feeling inside. But again, it's so disgusting that here we have adult men, mostly men, wanting, and it's always about the girls, the women and girls. It's never about like, oh, we shouldn't have trans men on men's sports or trans boys in boys' sports. No, no, no. It's always about the girls. They're so obsessed with the little girls' genitals that they need to be checking them before sports. At elementary levels, just let the kids have fun. Just let them play. You know, it's disgusting that they put so much of their focus on this when we have healthcare systems that are crumbling to pieces. But this is what they use to distract people from the crumbling healthcare that they're responsible for. They're like, oh, look at this shiny thing over here. Look at this cultural war thing over here. And meanwhile, ignore the fact that it takes you 16 hours to get seen by a doctor in an emergency room.